All right, welcome to Shelf Warmers. I'm Sam.
And I'm Andrew.
This is the podcast where we watch and discuss movies from roughly 2012 to 2020, also known as the pump and dump period for Hollywood. Not exactly a golden age, but definitely a time of high fertility for Tinseltown.
So fertile, in fact, that we didn't see many of the movies that came out. So if they're good, they're bad, or just meh, we're going to cover it all. If we heard about it and didn't watch it, well, now we're going to.
That's right. And today we're covering 2012's The Campaign, starring Will Ferrell and Zack Galifianakis. Directed by
Jay Roach, previously mentioned on the podcast as a director who made a lot of comedies and then now is doing weird, like, dramas, I guess, at this point in his career.
Like political dramas.
Bombshell, The Campaign. Double feature.
Yeah, he like pivoted.
He pivoted hard.
Hard
pivot, and I guess that's kind of like the new thing to do because no one makes comedies anymore. Yeah. But it's so much more the boring option. Like, for example, what if Mel Brooks made Young Frankenstein and then was like...
All the President's Men?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly the movie I was going to say. Which is like...
Imagine that, though.
Well, he did somewhat. You know, he produced The Elephant Man, but also he kind of used his name to let people who actually want to make more serious films produce and get their chances, like David Lynch.
People forget.
Yeah, but he would still make his comedies up into the 90s. But just that would have sucked if he was just like, you know what? I want to do Kramer vs. Kramer. I want to do Serpico. I'm like, yeah, no, Mel Brooks, like, keep making your silliness. Like, people that are funny, I was saying they should stick to it, but they should, like, you know, that is a gift in order to make something. It's hard. Really hard to make a comedy.
Especially to be, like directing a comedy movie is really hard. Because
it's hard to make people laugh.
It's one thing to, like, be, like, a performer in a comedy movie, but to be, like, steering the ship and also, you know, sometimes having bit roles, supporting roles in the movies.
For that, I often think about, how do half these actors who we grew up watching, like Seth Morris and Rob Corddry, and all these actors who were these big comedians in the 2010s and really, I guess since the 90s, who were always probably seen and making money off these bit parts in studio comedies, how are they making money anymore? Because they're not getting cast in dramas.
No.
You know, like Rob Hubel and Rob Riggle and all these guys who were always in supporting cast, like 21 Jump Street and all these different types of comedies.
Maybe they tour or just have enough stowed away.
I guess if you're like, you know, Chris Parnell or like, you know, Fred Armisen, who are in
Chris Parnell,
so many.
By the way, looks great today.
Taking incredible care of himself.
Like, looks better now than 20 years ago.
I think that's the SNL effect. I think you don't have time to work out and you're eating like shit and you're up all night, so you just look terrible. But now he's like a father and like he runs every day. Like,
oh, so he's fine.
He's chilling. Well, did you know this movie came out August 10th, 2012?
Yeah, I think I did.
Wow.
I also did some research for this podcast. But yeah, tell me about it.
So what did you see this weekend? Do you know off the top of your head? Because if not, I have a list.
I have a memory of where I was the summer of 2012.
I also do. Jersey Shore.
I was a little up north in Michigan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why were you in Michigan?
Like half of my family is from Michigan. Did you know that?
I actually do not think I knew that about you. It's 4 years or 5 years of friendship. I don't think it's ever come up before.
Yeah, I spent my summers in Michigan until I was like 14.
I always kind of wish I had that. Like, you know, like when you're in your 60s looking back in your life, like, when I spent my summers in Vermont, my summers in Arizona. Yeah. And I'm like, I was just in Jersey the whole entire time.
Well, it was like, yeah, it wasn't like the whole summer. It was like 2-week stretches.
Oh, okay. So you lied to me then.
But I went consistently every summer.
That's like there's somebody saying like, yeah, like, I'm a New Yorker. I moved there when I was 26.
I think you can adopt the New Yorker moniker.
I think you live in New York. I don't think you're from New York. I think that's kind of a whole part of the identity.
But you're a New Yorker.
I think it's different.
If you live in New York for 10 years, you're a New Yorker.
No.
That's what you think.
You live in New York, but you're not a New Yorker.
It depends where in New York.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, so now we're being elitist now? Like, if you live in like a penthouse in Manhattan, you're after moving there when you're like 30 because you're like a Wall Street guy, like you're not a New Yorker. But I guess if you like,
but if you're hustling in the city for 10, 15, 20 years, you don't think you've earned New Yorker if you've made it?
No,
in the concrete jungle.
I don't think so. I think that we will always be people from Jersey.
Well, I
Always be
guess.
Jersey guys.
Yeah, we're still Jersey boy. Anyway.
In the same way that, like, you know, like if you go to LA, you're not really from LA. Like, it's kind of a transplant city.
True.
Like, you're not like a, you know. Well, I know what I saw this weekend.
Yeah, what's that?
The Bourne Legacy.
Oh.
I was big. I mean, big on Jeremy Renner.
Big red guy.
Well, I'm just a big Hawkeye guy in general, and that I think made me convince myself for like 5 years that Jeremy Renner was one of the greatest actors of all time. Good actor, don't get me wrong.
Were you particularly impressed with his Hawkeye work?
No, but I loved Hawkeye so much that I
That
was so
it
happy.
overshadowed.
I remember like being like 13. Like I was like, I gotta watch The Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
So Renner, I was like, well, he's better than Matt Damon. He's the coolest guy alive. Now I have very mixed opinions on Jeremy Renner, but
Yeah,
I saw Bourne opening weekend because I was so excited for it.
that's crazy. I was not dialed into the Bourne franchise until later, and then I was kind of like,
I don't know if I've seen another Bourne movie, if I'm going to be honest.
maybe we'll end up watching Jason Bourne on this
That'd be a good pick.
on this show. But I remember in the trailer, isn't there like
Jesus
that moment?
Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
There's Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne, and then there's like that crazy punch, right? It's like that steel punch.
5'9" Matt Damon, like just walks up to his like huge boxer and drops him in one punch. Maybe he could do it after like 6 beers at a Boston bar, but
At the
I don't know if Jason Bourne's drop. I don't know if he's dropping a 6'5" guy.
Yeah.
That's like him taking out Affleck in one punch.
Uh-huh.
That's not gonna happen. Affleck would like give him a wedgie for that,
To be a fly on the wall with those two.
and just see them have sex with each other.
Right.
Because that's what they've done.
At least hand stuff.
At least hand stuff. So the campaign, I'm kind of curious what your memories are of presidential campaigns. I do remember the fact that George W. Bush was president. You know,
Really?
I have memories of that because he was president, I think, until I was like in first or second grade. So I was like aware of who the president was somewhat through school. But I really remember like the Obama administration, watching his inauguration on TV when I was 7.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know if I have memories of George Bush as president because
I don't like memories of him, but I remember like knowing he was the president.
I remember like the huge ass TVs we used to have with the huge backs, like sitting on my parents' dresser in their bedroom, and it was the Democratic debate
Yeah.
with Hillary and Barack. President Obama. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
And you were saying lock her up still.
even then I had like this incline to be
You were like check her emails.
But I just remember like my dad telling me like that is Barack Obama and he will be the next president.
Wow.
That tells you where my household was.
I won't say who my mom voted for.
But that was just an early memory. I was like my earliest political memories are this guy Obama is going to be
He was
president.
charming, man. He's charismatic.
Heck yeah.
He was, well, hope. My father was a Republican mayor
Oh,
in
that's
our
right.
town from 2008 2012. So he was elected at the same time as Obama.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that.
yes, same first term. But during that time was also the start of Chris Christie. So Chris Christie at some point started to campaign in our town. I've met Chris Christie like many times. Like I met his kids.
Good
like,
hang. Tough hang.
He took up a room. If you know what I mean by that.
Because he's
Well, literally and
figurative.
figuratively. Like his presence was felt. I remember his kid like tried to hang out with me and my brother, and he was kind of annoying, so we like vaguely bullied him maybe.
Oh my God! When there were annoying kids and you had your group of kids,
Mm-hmm.
I was not afraid to
And also, like-
outcast them.
Yeah, also like it's my brother and I. Like we're not really looking for a third friend.
Yeah, there's no vacancy here.
I felt bad, but also was like, I'm not trying to be friends with Chris Christie's kid. Even
Hey,
in a
Christy,
way.
step off. Well, remember he canceled Halloween?
He did. He's not a nice guy.
Well, no, I mean, my memories of him in the adults I was around were like, he's cutting the funding to schools.
Yeah.
Teachers are going to be fucked because of him. And I was like, whoa, like
Yeah.
that's serious. Because when you're a kid, your whole life is teachers and
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, seeing, well, it's like that stupid meme, but it is true. Like, I have called a teacher mom before.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh my God. Like,
They're gonna shoot my mom in the head on live TV. Well, also, getting into politicians, thinking the campaign, the movie itself. Who do you think is the inspiration for Will Ferrell in this movie? Because I was thinking about it. I was like, was this going to be like a Bush movie?
well,
Because he was so famous for playing Bush.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I think even for me, how old were we? Like 10, 11?
Yeah.
When the campaign came out, I think I was already aware of Ferrell as Bush.
Well, he he did a Broadway show as Bush. You know that?
Huh?
So he was like in the pop culture still. Like he kind of did like a farewell tour as Bush and did like a show on Broadway.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he taped an HBO special too for it. So like he was still very known as Bush like throughout pop culture.
But like I remember watching the trailer and laughing my little ass off, my little 10-year-old ass, like just laughing it off.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, oh, this is like a dirty movie. Like I'm not gonna be able to see this. Like this is inappropriate. Like there was still some like mystique around like these studio comedies, at least for us in those kind of early, late 2000s, early aughts.
We were right on the verge of
2010s.
being able to see them in theaters. Like we were probably like a little bit younger than 13, but they were like that's what made them so enticing to us.
Exactly. We weren't trying to get our hands on like smut.
I just wanted to laugh.
We wanted to laugh and watch the fucking campaign.
I remember my dad watched this movie first and then said I couldn't watch it. But I believe he showed me some scene.
As a what? Like a fucking education?
Like 11-year-old. No, I'm pretty sure he was like, you can't watch this whole movie because like he watched it first to check it, but I can show you some scenes so you can like still kind of see it. So I have like vague memories of a lot of the scenes in the movie, but I don't think I watched the whole thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because he was like, "This movie's too dirty for you," which like it is too dirty for me at like 11 years old.
Yeah, but I also feel like, I guess there's no harm in it, but
there's some
like
sex
if you
stuff.
watch
At 11, you probably don't want to see him.
if
like,
you watch his voicemail, it's fucking hilarious.
Jack McBrayer, so good. He's the best there is at playing the conservative man.
Yeah, but he kind of seems fruity.
Yeah, he's kind of like a southern dandy.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think that's like how Conan describes him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the campaign is kind of about Will Ferrell plays Cam Brady, who's like the incumbent candidate.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Scaramucci type vibe, which I was thinking, and I didn't know if he was around.
Scaramouche?
Not Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony Weiner.
Oh, dude, yeah, definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
He's totally Weiner.
Like
He's so Weiner.
the sex scandal politician.
Yeah.
And he kind of has this horrible gaffe where he leaves this voicemail. That's what it is, right? That's like the initial scandal.
Yeah, it's a voicemail.
Hey, Shayna, it's Congressman Cam Brady here. I just stepped away from a family dinner to tell you I wish I wasn't eating fried steak. I wish I was eating Shayna pussy. Seriously, baby, you get me so hard my dick presses against my zipper and it hurts like a motherfucker. What else? Oh, hey, I got your parents' tickets to the producers. And oh yeah, let's do something crazy weird next time, like lick each other's buttholes in a Denny's bathroom. All right, I gotta go. Cam Brady, no 12.
Now, that was clearly a wrong number.
It's like so vulgar and hilarious. So he has this major gaffe, and then we end up meeting the Mach brothers.
The Mach brothers.
Played
John
by
Lithgow and Dan
John
Aykroyd.
Lithgow and Dan Aykroyd. And so they're like these wealthy lobbyists, and they decide to gain influence in the district by putting up a rival candidate. So they kind of sift through their minds of like who they can put up, and they come up with Marty Huggins,
Such a good name.
played by Zack Galifianakis, who is a tourism director in this small South Carolina town, and he is not campaign ready.
No. I think they're both kind of doing... I think they're both doing like an easy day at the gym. You know what I mean? Like, it's been 3 years like since The Hangover, almost 10 years since Anchorman. They know how to play these roles like they're asleep a little bit, So Zack Galifianakis is doing this kind of fun
He's
little
doing
voice
like
he's
his
doing.
Seth Galifianakis thing,
Yeah.
which took me a while to recognize it because I was like, I've seen like this exact character on the Sean Penn episode of Between Two Ferns, which I fucking love.
And Ferrell has kind of transitioned into an elder statesman
I was
role,
just
I think,
gonna
in
say,
comedy.
like, he's been around.
So like he's kind of the anchor point, and he's kind of going against, I guess, a newer star, but he's kind of played Ron Burgundy like before. He's played a lot of egotistical guys in a very specific field. He knows how to do that.
So eventually, Marty, with his family's help and their political connections,
His dad, played by
Brian Cox, and the cutthroat campaign manager, played by
Dylan McDermott.
Dylan McDermott, who is right in this era of movies for him.
Yeah, but not the other one.
Dylan Mulroney.
Dermot Mulroney.
They make a joke about it in the end. But after some polishing, Zach Galifianakis' character soon becomes like in a dead heat with Cam. Like he really goes up in the polls.
He changes himself in order to try to win it all.
Yeah.
But he's like the Southern dandy type guy too. It's like he loves his town, loves his family, he loves his pugs.
Yeah, he has these 2 pugs, and they're like, you got to get the fucking rid of these pugs. Like
Hilarious shot when it cuts to he's coming home, he's in campaign mode, and they give him a chocolate lab and golden retriever, and the pugs are like supposed to be killed or whatever, and it cuts to the pugs inside the house window, and they're just staring at this all happening. It's so funny.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to have to put those down. But, as election day approaches, they all kind of make these last-ditch efforts to really bury each other in the campaign. So the movie basically just becomes them going tit for tat about one-upping the other or causing scandals or whatever else.
Yeah, you know what's think about for this movie is I think the story is by Ferrell and I think Adam McKay.
Yeah, Adam McKay.
And you can start to see the political ideas that would then form a few years later in his career, with Big Short and then going to Vice and Don't Look Up.
Vice, which is like on the verge of being really funny, where you have Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush. And it's like, you could totally see Sam Rockwell playing George Bush on SNL.
Yeah.
And in that same exact way, and it would play.
But it's kind of weird with this movie is I almost think it's too good at satirizing. Like, it's almost so real that there's, like, not as much comedy as it should be. Like, it should be more heightened.
I have one example of where I think they could have gone a step further to make it more outrageous.
Hit me with it.
There's this line in the movie where they... like Galifianakis' character's nickname is like Shit Tickle or something. Tickle Shits?
Tickle Shits.
And
he used to get tickled.
and he would shit his pants. And they're like, yeah, when you were a kid, like, we used to tickle you and you'd shit. So they say that, and I'm like, all right, that's funny. But the rest of the movie, I'm waiting for him to get tickled and then shit his pants as the candidate. And there's a moment where he is getting tickled. It's by Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell's tickling him. Yeah. And Dylan McDermott's like, don't you shit. And I was like, oh my God, he's about to shit.
But then they bring back the gag, which is probably the most famous gag from this movie, where, Ferrell goes to punch him one time, misses, swings, hits a baby. And it's like almost not funny, but then it cuts to the slow motion shot.
Strange. What was it? CG?
It's like a CG shot of him punching the baby, and then slow mo shot the binky falling to the ground. It's almost like he's like in Crime Alley. Mm-hmm. And he just like,
the pearls are falling.
Yeah. And it's so good because of that slow motion. And later on in the movie, he's tickling him again after he knows how to push Ferrell's buttons, and he punches the Jack Russell Terrier, and the bone falls in slow motion. And it's like maybe the highlight of the movie for me.
But that dog is also the dog from
the artist,
which is so 2012. But hilarious.
Yeah.
That the artist can be referenced and people know what it is.
Is this the only movie that has referenced the artist?
Outside of the artist?
Yeah, probably.
But that whole baby kissing scene, which is so funny, because that's like where I think the satire is funniest, where it's like, oh yeah, politicians kiss babies. Let's have them both like speed walking down a hallway, like fighting each other, trying to kiss this baby. And then you're like, okay, what's the funniest way it could end? He fucking punches it in the face.
Yeah. And this movie is a loose plot. Like, it kind of goes quick through the campaign, and like I was like, oh really okay, we're at like 3 months away, now we're like a week away. Like, it kind of like jumps quick. So there's a lot of bits of them like screwing each other over, almost in like a spy versus spy, like like a Road Runner.
It is
a type way.
As we're talking about it, I'm actually liking it more than my initial thoughts.
Well, it kind of hooked me in as soon as the dinner table scene.
The one, what, the voicemail?
No, the one where he's talking to his kid.
Correct. That is.
I showed it to my dad. He literally he was laughing so hard. He had tears pouring out of his face, and he goes, I'm gonna poop myself.
That I wrote that down in my notes. I was like, this is the first like knockout scene for me, is when Marty Huggins, finds out he's gonna be running for office. He goes home and he's like talking to his family. He's like, he has 2 sons and his wife. He's just like, like, we're gonna be under some public scrutiny, so I just think we should be honest with each other right now. Like, just if you have anything that maybe you're not proud of or you're embarrassed about, like, just let me know and it'll be fine.
One time I put a firefly in my butthole.
Why?
To make my farts glow.
Oh, God.
I shaved the dog and glued the hair to my nutsack so I looked like a grown man.
I touch myself to Drew Carey on The Price is Right.
Guys, okay, that's enough. Stop, please.
And it's played so well from Zack Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Like, it's maybe his best performance in terms of the movie.
And the kids are hilarious.
Well, because he has to play it so reserved in a way that he's like, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be upset. And the first one is, I said the Lord's name in vain. And him starting off being so upset from that sets the scene up to be so funny.
Right.
He's like holding his lips back. He's like,
oh, I said I won't get mad. I said I wasn't getting mad. And then it just goes off the fucking rails.
I went to the petting zoo and a goat licked me in the penis.
And the kids are just so like, deadpan. But he's like, the kids is like, he's like a chubbier kid. He's just like, he just says it like, I taped the hair to my ball sack or whatever.
Nothing funnier than little kids saying shit that's inappropriate. It's like as reliable as a fart.
That was the whole thing with that movie, Bad Boys.
Good Boys.
It was called Good Boys?
Yeah, it's called Good Boys.
Oh, Bad Boys is already a fucking movie.
Hey, you know that movie Bad Boys where little kids say insane stuff? Here's my other question.
Yeah.
Do you think that McKay was supposed to direct this?
I mean, when I saw that silly whip in the beginning with the coffee or whatever the fuck it is, I was like, oh.
Gary Sanchez.
When is this? 2012? So
Yeah.
Step Brothers is 10?
Yeah.
And then I guess maybe he was in the pre-pro for Anchorman 2. And then we have Jay Roach directing this, as we mentioned earlier.
It's not really his Will Forte. He's more of a
It was kind of like
a pun.
he's more of
Will
a
Forte
more of a
joke.
Chris Parnell.
I'm working on Will Forte impression that I won't show here, but I'll show you later.
Okay.
This is a heads
Off
up.
mic.
Off mic. Will Forte impression.
Well, Jay Roach, does the campaign in 2012. Before this, he does two of the most, I think, memorable studio comedies of the 2000s. He does Austin Powers and Meet the Parents,
Yeah.
which are two kind of different comedy movies, but both extremely important in the arc of the. Both you have, Mike Myers' character stuff, which is hilarious, and then you have kind of Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, like that crew coming of age almost.
Yeah. It's also kind of interesting how those guys are coming back now. Like Mike Myers is on SNL right now as Elon Musk, which is a shtick that's already getting old, but he's still so sharp and comedically there. And
We give more leeway to Mike Myers than Carvey.
Dana Carvey. He's a one-trick pony. Sorry, Carvey. Yeah, and then Ferrell just crushed it on SNL 50 in terms of the concert and the actual show itself.
It felt like a comeback for some reason.
He was maybe like the funniest he's been in years. He was on it. And then you have Stillers doing Severance, which these three guys who've been around since the late 80s in some of their cases are still killing it and more relevant than they've been in years.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I remember as a kid, like in my head, I was sort of forming these groups of, we have my Slate segment on this show. I think my Slate mentality started very young, where I was kind of grouping, Stiller, Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn in one category. I was like, oh, like those three, like they make movies together. And then you have the Sandler troupe.
Spade and Farley and Schneider.
Kevin James, that
Chris
crew.
Rock.
But then you, like, Stiller and Vince Vaughn show up in Anchorman.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's some crossover there.
But I was thinking about it in terms of how do you get people back to the theater to see a studio comedy? Because my dad and I just watched a trailer of Happy Gilmore 2. And he goes, that's going to be a huge hit. And
Really?
I go, it's coming out on Netflix. And he goes, that sucks.
Wow.
It's true. People would kill to see Happy Gilmore 2 in theaters, I bet. It probably makes so
Do you
much
think
money.
they'll do like an Irishman thing where they throw it in for a week?
They do for most of their movies, but what a waste. People love Adam Sandler.
But what's his deal with Netflix?
I think he just has a set deal. He keeps making movies for them. But also, he's happy to do that. I think he's not one of those he's not like Marty Scorsese. He's like, you have to see.
He's not out there showing. He's not like Christopher Nolan, like showing the. Here we have the 35mm print of Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah, he just wants to keep making art and make people laugh. So I think he understands that Netflix is a venue for that. But also, there's something lost with that. It'd be fun to watch it together, but also, I'd love to see in a packed theater. I can't really
laugh
think of
with
the last
strangers.
Decently sized theater I saw a comedy in. Maybe Jackass Forever. Even then, I was half full.
Was that at Rutgers?
Yeah.
Um, I just remember. I remember my mom took me to see Grown Ups in theaters.
Oh, it destroyed in theaters.
It destroyed me. I could not breathe. My stomach was like clenched. I was laughing so hard.
Maybe the last time I had that was maybe like Popstar.
In theater?
Yeah, I remember my dad and I like just laughing so hard that whole movie.
I remember hearing these like mythological stories that my mom and dad would tell me when I was younger. Like again, like I feel like both of us, we don't really talk about this kind of thing, but like the studio comedies, I think are kind of integral to our development. Like,
Absolutely.
Like I remember my mom and dad telling me these crazy stories of like, oh my God, Sam, like, or like kids gather around, like when we saw fucking Knocked Up in theaters, we were crying. We were crying laughing, Sam, when we saw Knocked Up in theaters. Also, the Rogan Truth.
Absolutely broken.
So I was just
huge
like,
for me.
I was like, wait, like, one, these movies can have that power, but these comedy movies can like turn my seemingly normal parents into like paralyzed victims of comedy. Like that sounds awesome.
My mom, she got a lot of flack for this as a parent when we were younger
Oh, here we go.
because we would have like sleepovers, and
Yeah.
my mom would not really supervise us. She would understand that we're going to do whatever we want to do, and she can't really micromanage us.
Crack.
So what I would do is I would go online and I would pirate all these like Seth Rogen movies. So that was kind of like our theory, like Seven Boys, and you put on Superbad, Pineapple Express, and This Is the End, and all the Jump Street movies.
There's so many.
Knocked Up, Anchorman. And we would just burn through these R-rated comedies and would laugh so hard to the point that me and my friends, even though like we didn't see them in theaters, we watched them so many times we could quote all of them, like Hot Rod, whatever. Like those movies were so formative for me.
Yeah.
But like I feel like those are probably the movies that like like even more than Star Wars made me like want to become a filmmaker.
Interesting.
Because there's the share laughter with friends, let alone even a bigger theater, is like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. I mean, we love the Sandler stuff. Paul Blart was huge for
All
me.
are huge.
I mean, that's movies. I haven't seen it in a while. I'm curious if that movie actually holds up.
I don't think I need to revisit it. I kind of have this perfect memory of it in my head.
What about Paul Blart 2?
I don't think I've seen it actually.
Me neither. Oh, Bash is giving us a thumbs down.
Sucks. But here's my point though. I wonder if they did like an Expendables type movie with some of these actors.
If they came back?
Would that like save the studio comedy? Because seeing like Ferrell and Eddie Murphy together, I
Oh, that
like,
was great.
They've never done
On
anything
SNL
together
50.
before. So like, what if you hypothetically made a movie with, like Ferrell, Sandler, Mike Myers, Ben Stiller, Jim Carrey? I was like, would that save the studio comedy if you like just get these heavy hitters all back together? You throw Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, because think about though, like Sisters made like $200 million.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That was what the double bill with Force Awakens,
Yeah.
right?
It still made money. People love going to the theaters. I should go fact check myself there to make sure that
Would it make $80 million?
$105 million. Still
Still a lot.
on a budget of $25 million. That's pretty good.
We were mentioning how this is, kind of more geared towards a satire than just a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest bits early on is like, blank are this country's backbone. Like farmers are this country's backbone.
Postal workers. are the
Postal
president.
workers.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Filipino tilt-a-whirl operators are this country's backbone. And that's like how the bit ends. And it's like, it's funny and you see the Filipino tilt-a-whirl operators, but it's also like makes its point where it's like, yeah, these politicians will say anything. They have their lines that they say to these, whatever group they're talking to.
And there also was such a specificity to the language in this movie. I think a lot of the humor of the 2010s. There's one line I wrote down. You look like Richard Simmons, he crapped out a goddamn Hobbit.
Yeah. The
Like-
references.
So specific. You look like the Travelocity gnome. Like very specific language and references in this that I feel like is not maybe there in most comedies today.
I'm trying to think of another example, but I feel like I have an idea of like my dad watching a movie or my dad showing me a movie from the 80s and they reference like, again, like niche shit like that no one is going to know
Fletch?
in 15. Yeah, probably fucking Fletch, which my dad showed me and Andrew and one of our other buddies. And a lot of the jokes are just like, I don't understand this bullshit.
Who's that politician from 1984 he's referencing?
Well, along the same lines in this movie, and this I feel like this is right in line with the Shaw Former like trait, are all of these political commentators being cameoed.
Wolf Blitzer.
I have a whole list of here that I wrote down.
What's Wolf Blitzer's fee for this movie?
You probably get a piece of the merch, like Lucas.
Yeah, he's that for Mission
On the back
Impossible
end.
6. He's like, Cruz, I'll only be in Mission Impossible 5 or 6, whatever, if I get a cut.
I feel like
Box office
that
cut.
was his swan song.
Yeah.
Because he's been like in every movie as Wolf Blitzer, and then in Mission Impossible, was that the last one or Fallout? Fallout. So there's this whole bit where he like is Tom Cruise.
He's Simon Pegg, I think.
Simon Pegg. But like again, like this big era of like I guess people still watching cable news.
Piers Morgan.
Yeah, Piers Morgan shows up. Chris Matthews, the guy from the Ed Show on MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell, the Morning Joe crew is there, and they look young. Our buddy Bill Maher.
Club Random. Huge inspiration for this podcast.
When we eventually have video, it will look a lot like the Club Random set.
Were we sipping whiskey and smoking joints the whole time and sinking into our comfortable chairs while we ramble nonsense about politics with the Hawk Tuah girl?
But if you put these people in a movie now, no one fucking knows who they are.
No, because who watches cable news anymore?
Yeah.
Honestly, you probably put like half the Fox guys in a movie and people would have a bit more like recognition on them.
But you also have, again, like you have this real face-off between Ferrell and Galifianakis in the movie. But also I feel like we kind of touched on earlier, like as these two comedic forces at the time.
Yeah.
Where like I feel like Galifianakis was still kind of hot, like on the rise almost. Like what does he do? What does he do like before this or after this?
Hangover 2, and then before that I think was the Due Date, which also was a Todd Phillips comedy.
I think Due Date is after this.
That's Robert Downey Jr. actually, right?
Yeah, it's him and Downey. That's probably worth a watch.
No, it's not him and Downey. It's him and Jamie Foxx. I completely lied there.
No. Galifianakis and
is in Due Date.
I remember the poster.
No, I'm pretty sure I actually made it up to you completely.
No.
Oh no, you are right.
Because there's also Date Night.
Date Night,
Which is in Date Night.
Steve Carell
And
Tina Fey.
That's probably funny.
I watched Date Night. Yeah. I forgot Jamie Foxx was like the love interest, or he's trying to cuck Robert Downey Jr. in that movie. But I don't know why in my head it was him. And Galifianakis, I guess, does like Dinner for Schmucks. Wait, no,
he's in that.
Yes, he's in that with him and Carell also, right?
Carell's in that and Rudd. But I remember that scene. There's like that. It's like a meme or like a GIF now. I sound so fucking old when I talk about this shit. Of Galifianakis like trying out. He's like laughing. He's like has like the orange sweaters.
Yeah.
And his fucking face is turning red. Like there are brief moments where I think Zach Galifianakis is like the funniest person to have ever lived. Isn't he in like Birdman?
He's good in Birdman. Yeah, he's the agent of Michael Keaton. But also he
Birdman, hell yeah.
He also like it's kind of this thing where he kind of got big a lot later in life. You know, like
right. Those guys are usually a little more chill.
It's different than Ferrell. Well, Ferrell was like in his 20s on SNL, where like he was probably late 30s when he got The Hangover.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrell was actually, I think one of his first movies was the first Austin Powers.
Yeah, he's really young in that.
Directed by J. Roach.
Yeah.
But like I remember
That's the connection.
I remember the trailer for this movie. I remember Zach Galifianakis as this kind of pop culture figure, like him, the image of him with the baby and the sunglasses, or the baby with the sunglasses, like, and him with the beard, like that's like an image in my head.
He was iconic for that.
And of course, there's the Hot Shell Ray song. You know that? Tonight.
Yes.
They're dancing on the edge of the Hollywood sign tonight.
Yeah.
And there's a line where it's like, and it kind of looks just like you, mixed with Zach Galifianakis. Nah. I knew
That's
that
awesome.
line before I actually knew who the fuck Zach Galifianakis was.
But it is interesting though to see some of these actors who are comedic actors today. Like I guess our biggest star for comedies is I guess Ryan Reynolds at this point. But but Ferrell came up through UCB, or I guess not UCB. He's probably one of the groundlings. Galifianakis did like Ferns and did like stand up for years and years and years. These people have to put in the work in order to be funny. Like there are some people sure who are like just naturally kind of funny, but there's a difference between people who've trained at it. And these are two people who are absolute masters at sketch, who are coming into this. They can really live in these characters, and because also they sell it too, and that's also why it also works so well as a commentary, because they are not just doing these roles as like thin caricatures. They are really living in it.
Yeah, that's not it. There is like a depth to them, especially in this movie. Like we said, Dylan McDermott shows up as the campaign manager, whose name is Tim Whatley in this movie, which is the same name as Bryan Cranston's character on Seinfeld. Which I don't know if that's a coincidence or what the deal is with that, but my ears immediately perked up with that.
You watched a lot of Seinfeld.
I did. Also, Dylan McDermott was big in my life at this moment.
American Horror Story?
Well, no, I wasn't watching that when I was like 10. But I was watching a little show called Hostages on CBS.
What?
Hell yeah. With him and Toni Collette. Toni Collette plays like some political advisor. Dylan McDermott breaks into their house and holds her and her family hostage.
And that's the plot for the whole show.
Yeah, it's like one season.
Oh, so like it's a miniseries or got canceled?
No, it's contained.
I had a lot of shows like that I watched just because it was on when I was like young. Like, like I was thinking like Raising Hope. I'm thinking of The Finder.
Raising Hope, yeah.
The Finder. It was a 1-season show with Jeffrey Stoltz and Michael Clark Duncan.
Okay.
And it was like he finds things in Florida. And he was like an investigative guy. And that was like my favorite show when I was a kid.
I don't think I know that one.
Time goes on, and The Finder's forgotten history.
Another funny bit is when I think it's at the debate where they're like trying to get Will Ferrell to do the the prayer.
The prayer, and he
has no clue what it is.
Yeah.
So he's Sudeikis.
We
we haven't even mentioned.
As soon as I said you said that, I remember he was in this movie.
Probably his funniest part is when he's like doing charades for Ferrell to like help mime out the prayer.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is like, "Thou shalt not be the temptation," and he does like the Temptations dance. He's like, "The Temptations."
I almost prefer some of this. I almost prefer some of those bits that like are obviously a satire, but also so real. Like I was like, oh, this could have happened. Like this is like one step removed, like from reality.
There's a funny scene where Ferrell is at another church, and he's like, it's like one of those like snake churches or where the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And he's like dancing.
Southern Baptist.
Yeah, Southern Baptist. Like he's dancing with the snakes. And this snake like fucking bites him on the arm, and he just starts like cursing like crazy.
The devil's in you.
And then later he's like on TV and he's like getting interviewed, and they're like, "Why'd you get bit?" And he's just like, "It's for the poops." like this politician is like so hardwired to have his lines like, "It's for the troops," and then he's like, "It's for the poops."
Yeah, and then there's kind of this rivalry. Where Galifianakis has a video with his son. Not his son, Ferrell's son. I guess I'm gonna call him Dad. And it crushes Ferrell. So Ferrell's so mad that he goes to. Ferrell's so mad that he goes to Galifianakis' house and has sex with his wife and releases a sex tape.
Yeah.
And just tanks him in the polls.
But then Galifianakis comes back and shoots him in the leg,
which is a callback to Cheney.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, oh my god, Adam McKay had these ideas brewing in his head. He wanted to make a movie with a twisted Dick Cheney.
Is Vice good?
No memory of it. I saw it with my ex-girlfriend and a random friend in theaters in 2018. We were like 17. So I
think it might secretly be great.
Shelf warmer. Dick Cheney's a shelf warmer.
Dick Cheney's a shelf warmer. That's more Bill Clinton. I don't know if I can do Bush.
He's on the pod now.
I did not have sexual intercourse with Dick Cheney.
Just a little political commentary for y'all.
I know y'all like that.
So one of my favorite bits of the movie too is when Ferrell goes to the house of Zack Galifianakis' character. I keep forgetting his name.
Marty Higgins. And they have like 12 glasses of whiskey together. And then Ferrell drives home in the campaign car, and then all of a sudden here's Dylan McDermott. You know what to do. Yeah. And he calls the cops on him,
And then Ferrell was so drunk he steals the cop car.
Yeah, he gets pulled over and
And
then
kills
there's
a
like
cow.
dash cam footage. That I was thinking like, because I like Will Ferrell, but he's never been like one of my all-time favorites. But
Really?
like I hate Elf.
You gotta open your heart, man.
Elf is one of my least favorite movies. Period.
Look, I understand the hate for Elf, but I really think that you are being way too hard on it. I think you need to open your heart up and have some magic.
I have enough Christmas magic in other films.
You're just like Jimmy
Die
Caan.
Hard.
You're just like Jimmy Caan.
I am.
He would have been good in this movie.
Oh,
It's a weird role for Brian Cox. He's in like 2 scenes, and he's kind of like useless. But give it to Jimmy Caan. Come on.
give it to Jimmy Caan.
Give it to Jimmy Caan.
He was alive. But basically, the movie ends, and Zach Galifianakis has to like, he loses, Will Ferrell wins, and then Will Ferrell's like, actually, I'm gonna give my position back to Zack Galifianakis.
Yeah, because he deserves it. He really cares about the
Town.
people. Yeah.
But before
District.
that, they have like this heart to heart, and they like kind of connect and relate to each other because they find out that they both grew up around the same playground, and
Yeah. It's kind of they all kind of know each other. Like it's a very small district. I think early on, like Suds like refers to him as Tickle Shits. I'm sure it's Suds who like references that. So like he went to school with them, but they have no memory of him really.
yeah, right. And Ferrell has like this scar on his arm from this rusty slide that was in their like neighborhood. And Galifianakis is like, yeah, like I have a scar too, and he shows him his scar, and it's like identical, and they're like, oh my god, like we're brothers.
It's like disgusting.
And then Galifianakis like pulls up his shirt. He's like, I got cut pretty bad by the slide, and it's like the most like grotesque like body horror like practical scar running all around his body, and it's pretty grotesque but hilarious.
And that's kind of the end of the movie. Oh, and then and I guess it kind of ends with the maid out of Brian Cox, who he makes do like an old like a racist voice. Yeah. And then she also works as like a, what do you call that person? Like someone that serves people.
Yeah, she's like
and
the
she serves
housemaid.
Aykroyd and John Lithgow. No. I mean like literally.
Oh,
Like, literally, she serves
illegal.
them like a legal notice. Yeah.
Yeah, so they go. There's like this knock on the door, and it's like this really cartoonish like Hispanic voice, and they're like, oh, like she's like, let me in. So then they're like, oh, like okay, and they open the door, and it's her again, and she serves the Mach brothers, and they take them to court.
Who are also like, I feel like this movie, like I said, it moves so fast that like you don't really spend all the time with some supporting characters. So like you have like like Dan Aykroyd in this movie, and he's like not funny.
No,
It's like weird. It's like yeah, it's like
not.
he's in like 3 scenes and he's not funny.
yeah. I do have some production facts for
Hit me with
us. So, as we kind of referenced, Galifianakis' character, like his portrayal of Marty Huggins, is based on his fictitious twin brother, Seth Galifianakis, which spawned from the Zack Galifianakis Live at the Purple Onion from 2006, which might be worth a watch. The exterior shot of the Mach mansion is the same mansion that is supposed to be Wayne Manor in the 60s Batman show.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm not even sure how something like that would
Huh.
happen. This is some weird, like IMDb, somebody did the math where it's like, with a large budget of $95 million and the film's runtime of only 85 minutes, it means the films spend over $1 million per minute of final footage.
Wow.
Which I don't think, the sentence
I don't
is
know if that-
weird, but you kind of get the point.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a screenplay
Millions
thing
or
where it's
millions
like
per
one
minute.
page, where it's like like you write a screenplay, 1 page is 1 minute. I don't know if that really tracks on screen.
But it's $1 million per minute. No, definitely not. And the last thing I have here is Randy Bachman of the Bachman-Turner Overdrive Band is seen on stage playing his hit, Taking Care of Business. And they don't even really show a shot of him, but that was the real guy who made that
Would
song.
anybody know who that is?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it reminded me of kind of like this era of comedies where you would have like the real artist like cameo in these comedy movies. But
Sure.
by 2012, it's like kind of late in the game for studio comedies. Like, they don't even fucking dwell on it. Like, it's literally in the background, and it's actually the guys who made the hit song, but they don't even get like a shout out.
Yeah, I mean, like, this movie's not getting like, like Bruce Springsteen.
No, that would be great.
It's not getting
Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run, y'all.
Anyway,
I love Cam Brady.
I love Cam Brady.
Marty Huggins sucks.
Sometimes political campaigns are hard.
Me and my friend Obama endorse Cam Brady.
We're a couple
The kings of podcasts.
We're a couple of renegades.
Just like my friend Cam Brady.
How about some slates on this movie?
Oh,
Movies that pair well together.
I got 3 movies that you could watch alongside the campaign.
Hit me with it.
So these are 3 election-based movies.
Is one of them election?
Yeah, one of them is election, which is a funny Alexander Payne movie. Who, honestly, the way Alexander Payne looks, I kind of get him confused with the way Jay Roach looks and the way Doug Liman looks. Like, if you showed me pictures of all 3 of those guys, I'd be like, they all kind of have the same vibe. But Election's a really great movie. It's funny, and it kind of gets more in the nitty gritty of like an actual campaign and a similar kind of cutthroat mentality. I've got The War Room here, which is, have you seen that?
I've not, no.
It's a doc about Clinton's first campaign in '92, and that's where you see like George Stephanopoulos and James Carville, and you kind of see their way of making a true campaign and kind of playing dirty, but playing by the rules and getting, the first Democrat elected in, 12 years. So it is, and it's all real, and it's all real footage, and it's, what's his face? D.A. Pennebaker.
Oh, cool.
So it's like it's a legit doc. And then the last one I got here is Game Change, which is Jay Roach's, came out the same fucking year, 2012.
Really?
And it's about the McCain Sarah Palin ticket, and Julianne Moore plays Sarah Palin. Ed Harris plays John McCain.
I did not know about this movie.
And it's bizarre. And Woody Harrelson plays Steve Schmidt, the campaign manager. And that came out the same year and was directed by Jay Roach.
Busy guy.
And
he had political aspirations.
Yeah. So, Andrew, would you take this off the shelf, or would you just let it be, let it collect dust?
You know what? I would take it off the shelf. I'm happy. Like I said, I think I vaguely saw this when I was a kid, maybe, or I saw part of it with my dad, and it's something that I kind of had on my mind for the last 13 years. So I kind of got the satisfaction of seeing it finally. And you know what? Made me laugh. Tight movie.
It is tight.
So I'm happy I picked it up. It was a little hot. It was warm. You know what? I put it back and it was smoldering.
Scalding hot.
Scalding hot.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I would kind of take it off the shelf, check it out, have a chuckle, and then, put it back up indefinitely. Maybe I'll revisit the clips on YouTube of, like, the dining room scene and catch some of the clips on YouTube. But overall, pretty good. Well, that's our show.
Thank you for listening. Catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to Shelf Warmers. New episodes drop every Wednesday. You can follow us on social media at shelfwarmers.podcast, where you can send us movies to take off the shelf for future episodes.